Assalamualaikum students. This is chapter 5, Development Strategies for ISP250 Information System Development. As usual, the content of this lecture will reflect the content that is in the text reference. In the text reference, this chapter is chapter 7, Development Strategies. This is the learning objectives and also the chapter contents based on the content of the textbooks. The syllabus content of development strategies as shown here, and the relevant reference are being put there based on the content of the textbook or the text reference. In this chapter also we will look at where does this chapter reside in the overall SDLC phase. Yes, so this is we are still looking at the phase 2 system analysis, and towards the end of the lecture we will go into phase 3, which is system design. Still on the learning outcomes of this lecture, also learning outcomes of this lecture. This chapter describes the remaining activities in the system analysis phase and looking into the transition of the system design, which include prototyping and also the system design guidelines. First of all, we will look at the overview of the development strategies. When we talk about development strategies, we are referring to development of software, producing a software. So traditionally, to develop a software, the company either develop the software themselves, or they can purchase the software as a software package, or most of the time with some modification, or they can hire some consultants or an outside company to build a customized software for them. In today's business environment, there are more choices for software acquisition or software development, and there are also application service providers. We will look into that later in this chapter. Web-hosted software option, and also firm offering variety of enterprise-wide software solutions. So it is important to select the best development path, meaning that how the company is going to develop their software, and with consideration of this three area. The first one is the impact of the internet, the software outsourcing option, and also in-house software development alternatives. Let us look at the impact of the internet. As we know, as time moves on, as data become more available and quote-unquote cheaper, the internet has triggered a lot of changes in business method and operation, and these include software acquisition or software development. In this section, we will examine a trend known as software as a service, the changing marketplace for software, and how web-based development compares to traditional methods software development. Okay, first of all, we will look at the SaaS or software as a service environment. So if we look at software development, traditionally software vendors, as we have mentioned in the previous slide, either develop or sell application packages. So when they can develop their own, or they can buy software packages using license. SaaS, or software as a service, is a new model of acquiring software whereby the application is hosted by the developer as a service provided to customer over the internet. Yeah, so meaning that the software is in the internet and the customer is using the software while it is in the internet. The major advantage for this type of services is it reduces the customer's maintenance, operation and support towards software development. More and more businesses today are developing and adopting this SaaS method because it is easy and it just needs internet connection. Now we look at traditional versus web-based system development. Okay, system analysts will have to decide whether they want to build software, or their software will be based on web-based or traditional environment. In a internet-based system, the web will be a very important part of the application, not just as a communication channel, because if you are using a web-based system, definitely the internet will be a source of communication, but also you will be putting a lot of your data over the internet as well. Not only you need the internet to access information, but the internet will be also part of your data repository where you put your data. The major web-based development environment are example .NET and also web sphere. Although there's a major trend toward web-based system, many firms rely on traditional system because of their legacy system, meaning that their old system is still there in their organization, and they still need the old system. Then it hinders them from going to the internet base. And some company, they are mixed towards internet base and also traditional system. Okay, now we look at traditional development. When we are talking about traditional development, usually it is the software is designed because it's influenced by compatibility issues. The design run on local or wide area company networks, and it also utilizes internet resources, but the web-based features are only an enhancement and not core elements of the design. Development of traditional software development, usually in-house. They can be software package with modification, and also can be developed by outside companies. In terms of traditional development, there are issues of scalability. It can be affected by network. Scalability, as we have seen in the previous chapter, is the ability of the software to grow. Requirement substantial desktop computing power, because you are using non-web based in most of your software function. and security are less complex because compared to web-based system, because it is in your territory. When we look at a web-based system, it is delivered as an internet-based framework. It uses web or the internet as a platform. It will also require additional layer middleware. It's easily scalable because most of the component of the software is in the internet. It's not in the devices that is in the company. Large firms deploy web-based system as enterprise-wide software solution. The threats of software application, it treats the software application as a service, yeah, SaaS, less dependent on desktop computing power, because again more and maybe most of the software part is over the internet. It can limit in-house involvement and have vendor install, configure and maintain the system by paying agreed upon fees. So meaning that you can free your worker from the concern towards the software because it's in the work of the vendor. But when you're talking about security issues, it is more complex because you're talking about your data being put in the internet and you are using a service that is provided by other people, whereby the service comes with the data. So you are putting your data in other people's developed software. So sometimes there's security issues that you need to be certain of before you agree on using the software. Okay, we look at the next subtopic here, the impact of the internet, the future, whereby we have three components here: Web 2.0, cloud computing, and also mobile devices. Yeah, I put plus mobile devices because the original content of this PowerPoint is not including the mobile devices, but it is included in the text reference. Yeah, the impact of internet, when we are talking about Web 2.0, we are talking about the social media. Yeah, second generation of the web, whereby the user collaborate, interact and share information. Interactive experience. This is the social media generation, whereby data is easily exchanged and easily obtained. That is the impact of internet. The second impact is cloud computing. Yeah, it brings enormous computing power, meaning that you don't only rely on the computing power of your device, but part of the computing power is over the internet. Yeah, offer an overall online software and data environment. For example, an online SaaS. Yeah, more and more people are using software which is available online. You can put your data online and so on. The third impact of the internet is mobile devices. More users are using mobile digital devices, and with more digital devices or mobile devices, there comes more development of apps. Yeah, so light featured software is developed for mobile devices. Now we look at outsourcing. Yeah. So what is outsourcing? Outsourcing is transfer of information system development, operation or maintenance to an outside firm that provides these services for a fee on a temporary or long-term basis. So outsourcing, meaning that you are asking outside company, yeah, people outside of your company to do what? To do the work regarding information system. Here we put three components: development, operation, and also maintenance. Yeah, and a different company will venture into different size of outsourcing. It can start from a minor work of programming task, or it can start with a mere rental of software from a service provider, or it can go to very big scale of outsourcing of a basic business function or business process. Yeah, this is also called business process outsourcing, BPO, or the handling of a company's entire IT function. So meaning that if a company outsource the entire IT function, meaning that they will have very little or very small size of IT department, because most of the IT functions are done by vendors or outsourced to outside companies. When you're talking about outsourcing, there are also overseas outsourcing, whereby the issues, the main issues of outsourcing can also be to other companies, or in another situation, outside countries. For example, India and China, because India and China, they develop their skilled workers to get outsourced job from out of their country. Yeah, they develop programmers, they develop software developers. Yeah, so of these criteria listed here, India and China are very high, yeah, in the country that provide outsourced services. And also, apart from the workers, their business environment and also regulation make it easier and make it easy for other countries to outsource, yeah, the IT services or development towards these countries. Now we look at the growth of outsourcing. Traditionally, firms outsource IT tasks as a way of controlling cost and dealing with rapid technology change. But now, outsourcing has become the part of an overall IT strategy for many organizations. So it is very common, yeah, to have outsourcing as one of the IT strategies. A firm or a company that offer outsourcing solution, or they do outsource, it is referred to as service provider. Yeah, outsource service provider. There are various types of service provider. Some provide software application, and some even provide business services. Two popular outsourcing option is application service providers. The other one is internet business services, as mentioned before in various types. Firstly, we look at the application service provider. They provide software, deliver software application, or access to an application, meaning that the user or the customer will be able to access the application of the software, and they have to buy or pay subscription fee. An ASP, application service provider, provide more than a license to use the software. They rent an operational package of the customer. Yeah. Again, security issue here is regarding the data. So who is hosting the data? Can the service provider use your data? What about if you want to change the software to another software that is provided by another service provider? So how are you going to move your data? Yeah, so a lot of issue regarding data in terms of ASP. We now look at IBS, Internet Business Services, provide powerful web base for business services such as order processing, billing, and even customer relationship management. Yeah, another term for IBS is managed hosting, because the outside firm become hosts that manage service operation. One example of IBS company is Salesforce. Yeah, you can pause this video and go to Google up Salesforce, and you can see what type of business is offered by Salesforce as a service provider. We continue with the subtopic outsourcing fees. As shown in this slide, there are three models of outsourcing fees. The first one is fixed model, fixed fee model, flat rate, uses a set fee based on a specified level of service and user support, meaning that you pay the fees, it is fixed. And then the second model is a subscription model, whereby the fees can be can vary based on the number of users or workstation that have access to the application. So it is like a license. So how many users are going to use the software? So you buy license based on the number of users. And then the third model is usage model or transaction model, charges a variable fee based on the volume of transaction by operation performed by the application. So the more you use, you will pay a bigger fees. If you use the software less, so you pay lesser fees. So these are the three outsourcing fees here available. Issue and concerns. Outsourcing mission critical IT system should be outsourced only if the result is a cost attractive, reliable, and business solution that fits the company's long-term business strategy. So in terms of cost, it must save money to the company, so it is worthwhile doing outsourcing. So a few concerns or area that they need a company need to be careful are area related to insurance, liability, licensing, ownership, warranties, and also disaster recovery. These are very important issues because when you outsource, you are dealing with a separate entity outside company. So how do you deal regarding these issues? When we are talking about outsource, as we have seen previous slides, outsource can also be done offshore in another country. We have seen that two famous countries that provide outsources services are like India and China. So these are the issues, yeah, with offshore outsourcing, meaning that IT work will go overseas, yeah, in terms of risk, in terms of control, security, cultures, and also communication. In-house software development options. A company can choose to develop its own system or purchase software packages with customization. The most important consideration is the TCO. TCO is total cost of ownership. So in terms of in-house software development, it's either make or buy decision. Yeah. So do you want to make the software, produce the software yourself, or you want to buy the software? So this is also called build or buy. The choice between developing versus purchasing of the software. Yeah, develop in-house software or buy a software package. Software vendors are companies that develop software for sale, and value-added reseller. These are a few terms regarding the make or buy decision. Yeah, the first term is software vendors. The second terms are value-added reseller or VAR. So what do? They enhance a commercial package by adding customer features and configuring it for a particular industry. So value-added reseller, they get available software and customize it to their customer. There are two general type of software packages. The first one is horizontal application, can be used by many different type of organization. Another type is vertical application, developed to handle information requirement for a specific type of business. So vertical is specific, horizontal is more generalized. Here we can see the reason for in-house development versus the reason for purchasing a software package. Yeah. So either build or buy. Yeah. So the details of these reasonings are in the text reference, so you can read through the points of these reasons. Yeah, we can see in-house development to satisfy unique business requirement, minimize changes in business procedures and policies because you don't need to deal with outside companies, meet constraints of existing system because you know your existing system, meet constraint of existing technology, develop internal resources and capabilities, and satisfy unique security requirement. When you want to buy a package, why? It might be because it will cost you less, lower costs, require less time to implement, proven reliability, performance benchmark, require less technical development staff, future upgrades provided by the vendor in terms of scalability, and also obtain input from other companies. Yeah. Another, as we have said just now, another option in in-house software development is buying a software package. So there are three area or three methods of customizing a software package. The first one is purchase the package, basic package, and you will ask the vendor to customize the software for your need. The second approach is to negotiate directly with the vendor on enhancement, yeah, that will customize the software. The third approach is to purchase a package and you do your own modification. But this third approach must agree with the licensing of the software that is obtained from the vendor. In this slide, we can see what are the issues regarding creating user application. The first one is the user application that is related to the business process. Yeah, it can be using standard business software, for example, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, the usage of Microsoft Excel, for example. Yeah, you use whatever is already available in the company. The second issue is the user interface. So to make sure that the layout of the interface is user friendly and the user are familiar with the elements of the interface, with the buttons, with the how to save, how to print, how to share, and so on. Also availability of IC, Information Center of Help Desk, for user support, and then screen and report generators. Yeah, does the user able to use their own design and so on, and read-only properties in terms of data security and integrity. Who have access that can change the data, and who have the access but their access will only allow them to read the data. Yeah, it is very important consideration in building an application. Next, we look at the role of the system analysts. The company must decide how to develop the system and whether to use an outsourcing option, develop in-house, acquire software package, develop user application, or select some combination of these solutions. So this decision is done or put forward by system analysts. Yeah, the decision will affect definitely the remaining steps in the SDLC phases. Yeah, as your involvement as a system analyst will decide this first step in the SDLC phases. The next role of system analyst is to select hardware and software, work as an evaluation and selection team. So to evaluate and select which software or application to use, the system analyst will work as a team to make sure that critical factors are being considered and not overlooked. And also they will make a sound choice, meaning that a very wise choice. The selection and evaluation of software includes the first step is to eliminate a system alternative that doesn't meet the requirement of the company. The secondly, after eliminating, they will have a few set of applications, so rank the application based on feasibility. And thirdly, the team need to present the final decision so that present their alternatives so that the management or top management can do their final decision. Analyzing cost and benefit. So this involves financial, because as we mentioned before this, the option of system development, it rely closely on the cost. When you want to outsource, the main reason of outsourcing is to cut cost. So in looking at the cost and benefit, so company use a lot of financial analysis tools and techniques. At the end of the system analysis phase, which is the first phase here of SDLC, planning analysis, evaluate and decide how the project will move forward. An accurate forecast of the total cost of ownership is very important, and it is very critical. Three main cost analysis tools. The first one is payback analysis. The second one is a return on investment, and the third one is net present value, NPV. Here you can read the definition here on this slide. These are the cost benefit analysis checklist, to make sure that you will maintain the TCO. List each development strategy. Remember, development strategy meaning the approach that you select to get or acquire your software. Identify all costs and benefit for each alternative. Consider future growth and scalability. Include support costs and hardware for hardware and software. Analyze various software licensing options. Apply financial analysis tools and study the results and prepare a report to management. So the cost, not only buying, but including licensing, training, and so on. Step 1, these are the process of software acquisition. Software acquisition meaning that how you want to acquire or how you want to get a software. The first one is to evaluate the information system requirement of your company. So including identify the key features, consider network and web related issues in your company, estimate the volume of future growth of your company. What do you need? Who are your customers? How far are your customers? Do you have a lot of customers? What will happen? What do you project to happen in 5 years or 10 years time? Specify the hardware, software, and personnel constraints for your company. Prepare a request for proposal or quotation. The second step is to identify the potential vendors or outsourcing option. So how to identify? Of course, the internet is primary marketplace. You need to search over the internet. Another approach is to work with a consulting firm. So the firm will do the work and negotiate with you. Another valuable resource is the internet bulletin board system that contains thousands of forums or news groups, so you can ask, you can discuss with the forums and news groups that is available over the internet. Step 3 is to evaluate the alternatives after you have achieved several alternatives. So look at the existing uses of the system or the software, do application testing, do benchmarking, compare, meaning that compare one application or one software to another and match each package against the RFP features and rank the choices. Step 4 is perform cost-benefit analysis. Identify and calculate total cost of ownership for each option that you consider. When purchase the software, you are buying what you are buying is a software license. If you purchase a software package, consider a supplemental maintenance agreement. The fifth step, prepare recommendation. This is to be presented to the management so that they can um, do a decision making in terms of the acquisition of the software. Step 6 is implement the solution. Depending on the solution selected, before the new software becomes operational, you must complete all implementation steps, including loading, configuring, testing, training, converting data to the new system to make sure that the system works and it is compatible to the business environment before we can implement the system fully in the organization. Completion of system analysis task. The system analysis phase, you must prepare the system requirement document and your presentation to the management. System requirement document, also known as software requirement specification or SRS. So this SRS is a real document. If you are a system analyst, you will be doing and producing this document to be presented to the top management with the requirement of the new system, description, alternatives, and other specific requirement. It is just like a contract. The important thing is this document will have a lot of data inside it, so it must be very organized. The format must be standard. It is easy to read and easy to use. It should include a cover page, a table content, index or glossary if needed. Requirement document will depend on the company and the complexity of the system. But the main thing is it delivers. When people look at this requirement document or requirement specification, they will understand the software or the application. Then is to present the document to the management. Why it must be presented? Because the management is going to do the decision making and will determine what is the next step of this software acquiring process. Depending on the decision that is made by the top management, it will be one of these the next step for the system analyst. The system analyst can be implementing an outsourcing alternative, might be developing an in-house system, purchase of customized software package, perform additional system analysis work, or stop all further work, meaning that it is rejected by the top management. If the management decide to develop the system in-house, then the transition to the system design phase begins. So system analysis, and then comes system design. Planning, analysis, and design. So preparing for the system design task, it is essential to have an accurate and understandable system requirement document. Again, requirement document or requirement specification is very important in order for a company or this process to proceed to the next phase. The relationship between logical and physical design. Logical design defines the function, features of the system and relationship among its components. Physical design is a plan for the actual implementation, building of the system. The system analyst must understand the logical design of the system, which include data design, user interface, architecture, system design, specification. System design objective. The goal of the system design is to build a system that is effective, reliable, and maintainable. A system is reliable if it is adequately handles error. Yeah, so you can use the system. If there's an error occurring, the system will be able to recover. A system is maintainable, well designed, flexible, developed with a feature modification in mind. System design objective. It must include user consideration, careful consideration at any point where user receive output from or provide input to the system, anticipate future needs of the user and the organization in terms of scalability, provide flexibility, several alternatives to users so that they can decide or start with a default value in terms of when the user need to key in certain values into the system. In terms of data consideration, yeah, data should be entered into the system where and when it occurs, because delays will cause data errors. Data should be verified, automated, can be accessed. Each data change should be logged, so you know which is the most recent and done by whom. And also data should be entered only once, and data duplication will be avoided. System design objective, architecture consideration, use a modular design modules that perform on a single function are easier to understand, implement, and maintain. Design trade-off, in terms of design goals often conflict with each other, so most design trade-off decisions that you will face come down to the basic conflict of quality versus cost. So do you want to have a high quality software, but how about the cost? Avoid decisions that achieve short-term savings but might mean higher cost later. Yeah, so remember the costing in terms of long run. Now we look at prototyping. So what is prototyping? Prototyping is produces early, rapidly constructed working version of the proposed information system. Also, prototype allow user to examine a model that accurately represent system output, inputs, interfaces, and process. Yeah, prototyping here is we are going to the design phase already. Yeah, if you are looking at the text reference, we are moving towards chapter 8 for prototyping. Prototyping methods. The first method is system prototyping. So what is system prototyping? It produces a full-featured working model of the information system, a system prototype that meets all requirements and is ready for implementation. A full-featured is a system prototyping. Another type of prototyping is design prototyping or throwaway prototyping, whereby this prototyping is to verify user requirement, after which the prototype is discarded and implementation continues. So design prototyping is just to get the user feedback. Prototyping methods, benefits of prototyping. The first one is to avoid misunderstanding, so that the user can experience part of the system and they can give their feedback. The managers themselves, they can evaluate a working model more effectively Potential problem, quality, because if you want a rapid pace development, you might have certain quality problem, and then in a very complex system, the prototype becomes unwildly and difficult to manage because of the complexity of the system. The tools that system analysts use to develop prototypes are listed here. These are various tools that can be used to produce prototypes. The limitation of a prototype, it is a functioning system, but less efficient than a fully developed system. That's why it is called a prototype. System developers can upgrade the prototype into the final information system by adding necessary capability. Otherwise, the prototype is discarded. It's either you develop it to become full system, or you discard the prototype and build another development for your system. Software development trend. A review of current online topics being discussed in the IT community. Software quality will be more important than ever. Project management will be a major focus of IT managers. Yeah, meaning that to manage project, not to develop, but to manage. So most of the project management will also involve outsourcing vendors outside of the company. Many software development tools and technologies are in transition. These are the various type of software development tools. The first one is service-oriented architectures, which focus more on the user perspective of building the software. Loose coupling, independent and loosely coupled modules. So software are developed based on modules and they are loosely coupled, so easier to maintain. Yeah, growth of open source software, more and more open source software, application of software with web services, and also programmers using dynamic languages. Okay, students, we have arrived at the end of this lecture, so please, you can pause the video and read the chapter summary for this chapter. The second part of the chapter summary here. And that's the end of chapter 5, development strategies. Thank you for your time and for your attention. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.